Just before we go on, Owen, would you pull that mic more in front of your face? Yeah.
That better. That's the cold open right there. That's the cold open. Hello and welcome to Drunk Talk, the Lord of the Rings podcast book club for people who like Lord of the Rings and podcasts, but maybe don't like book clubs. Stop shaking your heads. What are you shaking your head?
Just go with the beat. Focus, man. You're meant to be a professional.
I am a professional. You are meant to be professional too. You don't need to be shaking your head when I'm doing my little intro. Bastards. I'm not redoing that.
That's good.
Bastards. Well, so anyway, moving on swiftly, I'm joined here by the lads as we discuss chapter 3, which is called 3 is Company. So first things first, how are the lads?
Good. Very well, thanks.
All good, thanks.
Very good. I'll just go around to you. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Bull. I'll just go around to you one by one as I see you. So first up there is the Bull McCabe. Bull, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Ross. How are you doing?
Yeah, not so bad now that you've stopped shaking your head at me. Feeling good. Feeling good. So did you do your homework?
I did. I rushed it a bit, but I got it all done. I got loads of notes. Yeah.
It's only like 15 pages.
Yeah, you'd think, but I've been busy, man. Like you said.
I didn't say that.
Little wee baba, you did, episode 3.
I changed my mind. Rachel does everything.
At 45 minutes and 12 seconds.
And what are you drinking?
I'm drinking some Tyskie, but it's in a bottle, so it's not a juicy can of Tyskie. It's
right.
a bottle, but it's a 500
and is it good?
ml. Yeah, it's tasty.
It is tasty. Tyskie's good though. The Polish beer are they're just on point, aren't they?
Percentage.
It's kind of like a craft beer, but without being too hoppy, and it's not too jazzy. It's
pretty strong as well, isn't it?
And it's strong as fuck, yeah.
Well, thanks for interrupting there, Owen. Might as well go to you now. Obviously this is Owen Duffy, the general to his friends. Owen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Hopefully one day someone will Google Owen Duffy general and then come back and accuse us of being fascists.
Fascist, yeah.
That will be
blue
good
shirts,
to see.
is it?
Yeah, he ran off to Spain to fight for Franco and lost like a absolute ludramon. So
that was actually Owen O'Duffy, but
okay, right. Are you offended when I say that you're known as the general? I mean, should I stop that?
No. I remember I was in like 5th or 6th class playing football, and one of the teachers used to call me the general, and I had no idea why. But yeah, years later I was like, okay, yeah.
Oh, so he was a closet Christian fundamentalist, was he? Yeah. Well, that's primary school's the place for them. So did you do your homework?
I did, yeah.
Very good, yeah.
Good read this chapter.
Good read.
Frightening.
Good read.
Good read. I'll have to say that every time. Good read.
Yeah. And what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Rockshore.
Again?
No, this is my first time drinking Rockshore. Maybe someone else drank Rockshore, but
I had Rockshore, I think, the first week.
Alright, so I'm already too drunk.
My first ale was
Schmiddix?
McArdle's. And that was also made at
Already had too many.
A dodgy motor.
Go on, get there in the end.
St.
Go on.
James's Gate.
Very good. And last but not least, I see our final guest there. He's looking very sprightly and happy in his dressing gown. It's the little brother, Oisín. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic, Oisín.
I'm glad you mentioned the dressing gown. It's what I wear 24/7.
I have one on myself.
It probably smells so bad, but it's lockdown, so I just never take it off.
Well, listen. You can either, turn the heating on or just wrap up in dressing gowns,
or both.
It's better than a turtleneck, anyway.
Certainly.
I was drinking Tyskie. I thought a polar neck was needed.
Yeah. Well, as we've touched on this podcast before, I am extremely conscious environmentally. So I won't turn on the gas, yourself. Not that I'm cheap or anything. So, Oisín, what are you drinking now?
Tonight's tipple is Birra Moretti, a fine Italian brew. I don't actually know what it is. It's Italian.
Italian number.
A little Italian beer, cerveza, if I may say so. 6 of them for £6. Little Steve Weisers. They're unbelievable. Really Spanish.
Nice, 6 for 6.
No, the Italian passion for brewing.
Lovely, Oisín. Lovely. And what had you buying the posh stuff? You, a student who are, always whinging about having no money.
I went down to the offie and I actually was going to buy some harp. But then I seen this beside it and I was like, actually, I've been drinking shitey cures for too long. It's time to get something tasty.
Well, you have, so you're well done on treating yourself. Absolutely. Is that the food budget for the week?
Thank you. Oh, it is. That's it.
Yeah.
Beer and Marathi for dinner.
Well, very good.
There's enough calories in it. Like, Oisin's kind of on point because this is a long book. This is going to be a long podcast series. And if we're drinking every Friday, we're going to have some guts on us by the end of this.
Sure, we already have.
Drinking the old Coors Light. We need the light beers.
Well, I've gone the exact opposite direction if you're looking for light drinks.
What are you drinking?
Oh, well, finally someone asked, by the way. I have a very special drink here today, lads. I am on the dragon soup.
Oh my days.
That sounds thick. Oh,
It's a dragon soup, yeah. It has a warning symbol on the side of it.
oh Jesus.
Because
May cause death.
7.5%.
Oh, fuck.
You don't want to look at the liquid itself because it's so unnatural.
Oh,
It's like a bright pink, bright
Don't
orange.
drink it
purple.
from a glass.
Is it a beer?
It's a fruit punch drink.
It's a non-Newtonian fluid. It's also a solid.
Oh, so it's like that Four Loko stuff for...
It contains caffeine, something called taurine, and guarana. I think like guano.
You're going to be up all night. Taurine is basically fucking like a
It's Monster
caffeine
Energy.
on steroids.
What do you like?
Essentially, it's Monster plus alcohol.
I thought you couldn't get that in Ireland.
The Chinese know what they're about.
When you were in San Fran, did you ever drink Four Loko?
Yeah, that shit was moon juice.
I think they fucking banned that now.
Absolute sugar buzz.
It
I
makes your heart explode.
think it was 12%.
Well, do you know what,
Rotten.
lads? They should have banned it because it's absolutely rotten. And sorry, dragon soup makers. If you wanna sponsor the show, yeah, go ahead. I lie through my teeth and tell people it's nice. But it is disgusting. What does the
indeed.
job?
Pour it in the glass there. I want to see it at some stage.
Yeah, all right. Will I do that now? No.
Yeah,
No, I don't want to do it.
yeah,
Wait
yeah.
till I'm nearly done with it because I don't want to turn myself off.
Yeah.
But we have to see what it looks like. Have you only got one?
I've only got one, yeah. So I had a couple of cans before this, but I wanted to have something nice for the pot. You know the way I like my fancy beers, you know.
He started off with fat bastard wine, like fancy €7 wine. Now he's bargain bucket in fucking Pound City.
No, that shit's not cheap, man. The dragon soup's not cheap. No, it's like $2.99 for one can.
Sugar tax. It's 50% sugar.
I suppose it is part jet fuel, and jet fuel is expensive.
And also soup is spelt wrong. SOOP.
Soup. Soup
Because
the
you
whoop.
spell it background, it's poos.
Which is what you'll be doing tomorrow.
Do you remember what a shoop the whoop is?
Scoop the loop, was it?
Shoop the whoop.
Yeah, I've heard that term before. I don't know if it's the same thing.
What's a shoop the whoop?
At 3 a.m. in Eddie Rockets in Navan.
I've heard that before.
It's when, I forget you, man. A fella in Navan who used to like drop throw in the middle of Eddie Rockets 3 a.m. after all the clubs were emptied and everyone is in Eddie's, and he'd stand on the chair, drop the cacks, and his girlfriend wouldn't even stop him. She'd just be disappointed that it's happening again. And
Fourth week in a row.
he'd go, lads, shoot the whoop, and he'd swing his hips in such a way that his Mickey would swing around and he'd catch it between his legs so that it looked like he had a mangina.
Nice.
Who is this?
We don't want
won't
to use
say.
names on the podcast.
Oh,
we don't want to
okay,
use
okay.
names.
Yeah, fair
Just,
enough. You can
a
text
man
us,
about
mate.
the town.
Alright.
Eddie Rocket, huh? I've been kicked out of that place so many times. Nice spot though.
I live right beside an Eddie Rockets and the smell would drive you up the wall. It's so good. Sometimes I treat myself and get like chips or chicken from there if I'm cooking something else, Don't buy the whole dinner from there. But it's a
right.
little
Do you ever go
sample.
up and just get the milkshake maybe?
Oh yeah, too often. During the summer
Did you
especially.
ever get the creamy mash? Oh, some cream. Is it even potato?
good, is it?
It's just butter and water, I think.
Sweet potato mash, have you had that? Oh man, that's the next level.
Stop now, lads. I'm ordering a Chinese after this. I'm already hungry now. Stop.
Podcast.
So listen,
Anyway,
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
going to say this, lads, because we need to really kind of reel ourselves in here a little bit on the podcast. We've gotten some feedback from the fans over the last couple of weeks from our pods, and there's not enough Lord of the Rings, too much shite talk, where maybe it takes us 2 full episodes to talk about one chapter. So I was hoping we could get this chapter done in one podcast.
Yeah, we'll try.
Boom. Let's do it.
I mean, I still don't think we will, but let's just try focus and get this done. This chapter I thought was short, sweet, and
magical.
There's a lot to unpack, lads. A lot to unpack. I mean, I'm going to start away with the most obvious thing. What was Frodo doing? He waits like 6 months before he leaves. After Gandalf told him the world is ending and the devil knows your name and he's coming for you, Frodo's like, how about, maybe the end of autumn? I want to enjoy my summer.
I thought it'd be 3 days or something, yeah. I know in the film it's like immediately. But like, he waits till his birthday. He waits till September.
Yeah, but that's like a thing with hobbits. Like, Bilbo left on his birthday, Frodo left on his birthday.
Yeah, I think the same. They all like the symbolic moment to leave. Bilbo set out on this great journey on this day, and he wants to be the same. Just being a pansy about it.
The summers must be class in the Shire, like that he wants to stay there. Like I think I read somewhere that he just loved staying. He couldn't leave. He's just like, it's too good of a summer to. It's better hiking in the autumn, is what I took from it.
He was putting it off a wee bit as well, wasn't he? I remember first time I read Lord of the Rings, I'd say it was maybe 15 or something like that, and I was, just kind of like angry. It's like, Frodo, come on, go! What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
Exactly. But even though it's only a few pages, it feels like a long time because I was so scared for Frodo.
And he's even dawdling then at the end as well. Just before he leaves, he's still just hanging around. You're like, just
saying goodbye to the house and waving goodbye. And...
But then, you know what I thought was a real dick move? He didn't wash the cups. Like, man, how petty can you be?
I love that though, because he left them for the Sackville Bagginses.
Scumbag.
Legend.
Power move.
How cunty are the Sackville Baggins that he'd do that? Because Frodo seems like a sound enough man.
Yeah. And
he still does that. He's like, no time for these boys. Fucking wash me cup.
I can't believe he sold them the house. I totally forgot that was happening.
And for a steal, they said.
For a steal?
Yeah.
He left half the stuff in it too.
He was going out to live in Buckland. Back to the roots.
I suppose before we go forward through, do you want to do a 20-second summary?
Oh, yes. Right, Bull, go on. Give me the 20-second summary. Go on.
I took from it, right? Frodo is told to scoot by Gandalf. Scoot it, get out of here. Because, as you said, devil's after him. Takes ages. He prepares a fake story, is what I took, to move to Bucklebury. But he actually moves some stuff. You're introduced to his friends. They're all younger than him. He's 50. He's waiting until his 50th birthday to leave. Strange people come around looking for him after his birthday. He's ready to leave, and he's like, what the fuck's that about? Doesn't chat about them, doesn't really inquire much. Leaves with Pippin and Sam. You don't notice that in the film because Pippin isn't around. He meets Pippin on the way. Sam is...
It's a summary, by the way, not the whole fucking book.
You don't have to read the whole chapter.
Have you got the book in your hand?
Frodo leaves the Shire. Runs up the road.
He leaves the Shire. He leaves the dishes for Lobelia. He heads west, and then he hears hooves. It's the first time you see the black rider.
The wind is rustling in the background.
The trees are just in late autumn. The colours are changing.
As I said, they run into Fag or Maggot and they have a cup of tea.
Right, I give up. Fuck you, do it yourselves.
You're giving away all the talking points, like.
Yeah, Jesus. Frodo needs to leave the Shire. He delays. He eventually leaves. He's pursued by mysterious figures. Runs into a farmer and some elves. Boom. 7 seconds, buddy. That's why I am the host.
You fucking took longer than the last one, so I figured, right, we get maybe half a minute at this thing.
He didn't run into no farmer in this chapter.
3-4 minutes there. Any listeners still listening, with fair play to you, it will get good. I promise. Well, anyway, listen, about Frodo leaving, this time around, I don't think I was that bothered about him taking his time. Because I don't know about you lads, but I didn't want to leave the Shire. I didn't want to leave Hobbiton. I was like, no, Frodo, hang around. Go down the pub, meet the gaffer.
It's a big bad world, isn't it?
Big bad world.
I think Gandalf has a point in this where he says, or maybe it's not Gandalf, but somebody says, you can fence yourself in from the world, but you can.
That was Dildo and Glorian.
Yeah, you can't always fence the world out. Not forever.
Yeah.
The big bad's world come to him.
Yeah,
Whether he
and
like it or
to
not.
be fair, it already has. He doesn't leave a moment too soon.
Literally, yeah.
The
Almost by
day
chance.
he's leaving, there's someone down there talking to the gaffer.
Yeah.
I was going to say, he cuts it so tight. Like,
And he's
to
even
the
about
day.
to go round the corner to have a little peep at him.
Yeah, even chat to
Cheeky
go
wee
down
shite.
there. Who are you and why do you want me, huh?
Oh, Ludraman. Lunatic.
Story. Yeah, that would have been a quick story, wouldn't it?
Like, he was literally told the devil is after him. He was fearing for his life about 3 months ago, and now he's fucking hanging about.
Yeah.
Dicking about.
Maybe he was
Erica.
having a few drinks the night he was
Somebody-
with Gandalf and he just forgot it all. He's like, I remember we talked about the end of the world. It's actually, was that actually happening?
Yeah, and in fairness, he's never left his hometown, or at least his home country, you'd say. So, you know, it's kind of like, remember when coronavirus was spreading across the world, they were like, oh, Italy's in lockdown. Yeah, but Italy's far away. You know, what does that mean?
Italy's
to me?
problem.
Yeah. Sauron lives in Modor. You know, yeah,
Mother.
I'm sure it's real, but you know, he probably delayed it on purpose because he you know, didn't want to accept it or something.
One thing that I liked about the actual leaving when they actually got down to it is that Sam's like in the house getting some Dutch courage before he goes
Yeah, I
down the
love that.
fucking basement.
Saying
Sculling
goodbye
some-
to the beer cake.
Love it.
Ah,
That's class.
Sam is the man.
So class.
Is he the man though? I mean, I've written down a lot of notes here where he's a bit simple.
Oh, well, this is actually a good point. Sam is a bit simple. Is he? Well, I had a question. It's like, are Frodo and Sam even friends?
There's a bit where Frodo wakes up after like a snooze and he says, "All right, Sam, get the breakfast and the bath running," and it sounds like a joke, but like Sam's like, "Oh, I haven't got it ready yet." He's like, he just doesn't get it, or he's like, that to me
Definitely
says
at
he's
the
simple.
start he seems like a servant.
Yeah.
100%.
There's a part quite close to the end. I know we're talking about Sam, but it's near the end. But it says, Sam refused to leave his master. He came and sat curled
Yeah.
up at Frodo's feet. Sam
creepy,
is,
like.
Sam
That's creepy.
is Frodo's dog.
A little pup.
Is it just because, like, Sam is like literally employed by Frodo, and they have like a class system in the Shire that isn't really described?
Have they ever specifically like outrightly said that Sam is a hobbit? I mean, he is able to hear the riders. He's able to hear the riders come before anybody else. He has good ears, like. And we just found out in this chapter that the foxes can talk. Hot take coming. Sam is actually a dog.
Sam is the gaffer's dog.
Sam is a dog.
Yeah.
I just couldn't
Oh, wow.
You're saying Peter Jackson just took hot liberties and said he was a hobbit?
How does he cook the dinner? He doesn't have hands.
I don't know. Dogs can do a lot of stuff. I've seen a dog bring in the newspaper.
What's to say you can fry up some bacon?
Jesus, and foxes can talk.
Yeah, maybe.
They can think anyway.
I have
They
a
can
hot
talk.
take about this. Not so much a hot take as a theory on the whole is he talking, is he not? I
Sam?
think that's like some foreshadowing that. You remember in the films when there's Krebin from Dunland?
Yeah,
They're messengers. I think it's kind of saying that foxes are sentient. They see stuff. Maybe some people can talk to foxes and get that information from them. If that
I think you're dead right.
If that
Yeah,
fox
I
went
agree.
somewhere
Yeah.
and like told them there's hobbits walking around, very strange, don't know what they're up to, that could be some hot juicy
Spy,
goss.
yeah.
I'm going to go even further, Ocean. I think, first of all, yeah, you're dead right. And secondly, not just foxes. I think almost everything is sentient in Tolkien's universe. So the
That's
trees
true.
can
Like,
talk.
the
We know
trees are out
trees
there
can
walking.
talk.
Like who knows?
Trees can talk. The elves started up.
Gandalf chatted to a butterfly when he needed help.
Radagast the Brown just hanging around with rabbits and all this shit. You know, like, I just think everything can talk.
The
Almost
crows,
everything.
Saruman's crows,
Yeah.
ravens, whatever.
Krebin.
Ocean said that.
Krebin
so,
from
you
Dunland.
need to come up with another example, bud.
Jeez.
Oh, did he? I wasn't paying attention.
And in the Hobbit book, the eagles can chat. The eagles can talk to
Oh yeah,
to
they
anyone,
flat out
so,
talk. Yeah, they're
Yeah, eagles.
so why not a fucking fox?
What I want to know is why the fox knew what a usual activity for a hobbit was. What a little pervert. Just
They'd be
following.
That's why they're called sly. They just be creeping around on
Sneaky
people's
fat
business.
fox.
Maybe Sam is a fox.
Maybe Sam is a fox. But yeah, that's what I thought as well. Like, it's definitely what he's thinking, and he uses the word queer. So it's like, well, he can understand what they're saying and use their fucking
Terminology.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, and he knows that it's peculiar for the hobbits to be sleeping off the road.
Yep.
That's not your every weekend occurrence. These ones had a few too many.
How big is a fox compared to a hobbit? Like, I suppose it's something like a wolf to us. Like a big.
I know. I'd say like a Great Dane to us.
Like a fox to a child. I mean, it's still dog, isn't it?
They're a small dog, like.
The foxes are more like the size of cats, though. Or much smaller than dogs.
But what? A fox would be maybe 2 feet.
No, it'd be smaller
Yeah.
than that, man. They're small little
No,
dogs.
like in length.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
3 foot with a tail.
A fox would be bigger than 1 foot off the ground, definitely.
I've never got a measuring tape up close to one.
There's a fox out in Clongriffin. I'd be often out in the balcony and I'd see
You
one
chasing him with a
digging
measuring
about.
tape, do you?
Come here a minute. Come here. Hey. You little...
You don't be catcalling that fox, do you? Oh, yeah, Foxy.
Did you ever hear a fox calling at night? Scary
Oh,
stuff.
my
yeah.
God.
That's what
the
banshees
banshee,
are,
like,
isn't it?
yeah,
That's why we have the banshee myth, isn't it? About
Yeah.
a woman screaming. It's just a fox.
Fox.
Oh, devils.
Apparently the McCabe's and the O's, the Micks and the O's can hear when their relatives are going to die or dead or dying that night when they hear the banshee.
I'd say so, yeah.
So next in the pod.
Back to the
All
fox.
right, yeah, Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
We're on a podcast, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Not just talking about Buzz relations.
Well, I know, right. So, Frodo delays and he delays and he delays. And then he eventually leaves not a moment too soon because the gaffer at the bottom of the lane is overheard with a conversation with a black rider. And do you know what? Fair play to the gaffer. He stands up to him.
He
Fair
does.
play to the gaffer.
It creeps the shit out of me. Like, I know watching the movies, it doesn't give them justice to the fact that they're absolutely terrifying, the Black Riders. He literally, he hissed
hisses
at the gaffer. I'm
Yeah.
like, Jesus.
Imagine that comes up. You're in this little idyllic world where you never see anyone weird, and then something comes up in a cloak hissing at you.
It's probably like 7 times the size of you.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I was going to
No
say. It's
thanks.
like 4 times. Like, hobbits aren't big enough to ride horses, like, so they've probably never even seen a horse before, maybe. Well, maybe they're work horses,
Ponies.
but yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah, all of a sudden, this big, huge fella, like 2-3 times the height of him, hissing at him.
Fair play to the gaffer.
I like the idea in the books that he's talking first. He's actually asking him where is he and where is he going. But in the films, I think Peter Jackson did a good idea in the sense that like they say very little and it's always scary. It's like Baggins, Shire.
Yeah.
Instead of like having a Dublin accent. Oh, you see no Baggins, have you?
Any bags going?
But they're absolutely class though, the Black Riders, aren't
Yeah.
they?
They are
Some of the
terrifying.
best villains.
I mean, they're scary in this, but if we've seen the films, obviously, so you know what they are.
You know
How
what they
scary
look like,
they are.
yeah.
From
But-
this, they come across as if, you know, do you remember Voldemort the first time you see him and he's sucking on a unicorn? And as a 12-year-old
Oh, he's
watching
like
that
the-
film and he
Yeah.
like glue like crawls over, like he doesn't even crawl, he can't because he floats over
like
to
floats,
Harry. Yeah,
yeah.
that scared the shit out of me as a kid.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
what you kind of picture in this sense, that he's crawling towards him, like he's able to go on a horse, but he decides to go on his hands and feet.
Yeah, that's something I actually picked up on as well. Is like at one point they are crawling.
Yeah, he was sniffing the ground for their scent and going towards the scent, and then he hears the elves and fucks off. Just so fucking creepy.
Why did he leave though? Is he afraid of elves? I guess that a lot of elves together are powerful. Kick the
Bright
shit
light.
out of them. Are they magic?
Elves are creepy.
Yeah, I think all elves are kind of magic, and they're all a couple of thousand years old. So you'd think that most of them would be able to fight, you know.
Put up a
Maybe
good fight,
just
at
didn't
least.
want to cause trouble just yet, because at the end of the day, it was still a lead, not. You know, he wasn't 100% sure that was, you know, the one ring there and like that. Otherwise, he would have called for the other 8, you know, immediately.
Yeah.
That's my reading of it anyway. You know, he's happy to just kind of follow and look.
Mad how when he came as well that Frodo is like so conflicted. He wants to see, he also wants to hide, and then he thinks hiding the ring will help him hide. And he's like, why the fuck would Gandalf tell me not to use this? This thing makes you invisible. And in the movie, you actually see Gandalf say, don't put it on because as soon as you do, the enemy will be able to find you. He doesn't say that in the last chapter. So like Frodo doesn't have a clue that putting it on would actually be damaging. Like he seems like a smart person. He wants to check what he's looking at, but he wants to hide, and he's also wants to put it on. I don't know if he actually wants to put it on. I think the ring might be telling him to.
Well, that's a good point. I think This chapter is a really good example, I think, of something that obviously is easier than for a book to do because we've got Frodo's internal monologue, but you actually do get an example of the kind of mind control that the ring can do. In this chapter, we see 2 or 3 perfect examples, and I'd include that one, Bull, of the ring's power, trying to control Frodo. Because I think that kind of logic there was put into his head by the ring. That's my hot take anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that as well. That's what I thought when I was reading it, was that, yeah, the ring's trying to make him because it wants to be found. Like,
makes it scary as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You'd be like, no, Frodo, don't listen to yourself.
do you know what that scene reminded me of? You know Anton Chigurh?
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men?
Yeah, the dude with the hair.
Yeah. You know the bit, the really famous bit in that film when he's walking up the corridor with that gas canister gun thing,
Yeah.
and it's just real quiet and real creepy, and Josh Brolin's in the room, just like sitting there, just terrified, and he's not trying to make a noise. That kind of is what that reminded me of.
He is a bit of a Nazgul, isn't he?
He's just a creep, like terrifying.
Relentless.
Always able to find you.
Yeah. There's a lot of kind of Nazgul kind of clones out there, you know, where they're just kind of scary, ghosty type,
Nondescript character.
nondescript, indestructible.
Fucking Dementors.
Yeah, well, Dementors, of course, a copy of them. Even the agents from the Matrix. You know, something that
Terminator.
just don't play by the same rules that we play by. You know, they're all over fantasy literature, of course, like the Miradril and Wheel of Time or just Nazgul, and there's loads of shit like that. But they can't beat the best. The Nazgul hissing and crawling.
so
OP.
Do you call them
So
Miradril? I would have called them Murdrolls.
You could be right. I am a devil for reading something and making it up how to pronounce something.
Guessing, just going with it.
But yeah, class villains though. I think some of my favourite kind of type of bad guy, maybe ever, is them Nazgul boys.
Is the Nazgul not the fucking big dragon yoke they ride?
That's what
or
I always
is-
thought for years. Yeah.
Yeah, when I watched the movies, that's what I thought. But
It's just another name for a black rider, is it?
Yeah, I
Suppose
think
as
it
a
is.
kid, a dragon is
Yeah.
scarier than a man.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, why do you care about the man riding the massive fucking dragon? Like, you know.
Because in the movie, it's like no one gets in between the Nazgul and his prey, and then your one was Eowyn chops its head off. So I
Yeah.
presume the Nazgul was the fucking dragon that it rode, but
Wouldn't blame you for that.
I think I could be wrong because, in fairness, I think some of our regular listeners who actually know a lot about Lord of the Rings will know that I've been wrong many times so far, and will continue to be wrong. But that's why they should. That's why they should reach out to us on the socials.
leave a comment and correct us, please. Give us feedback.
Yeah, because I am wrong like all the time.
but most of this is just a matter of opinion anyway. So just try and enjoy.
But I think the Nazgul are the order of the 9 men who are like, you know, half dead ghost things.
Yeah.
And they disguise themselves as the Black Riders so that they can go through towns as just a fella on a black horse and a black hood.
They're just ghosts, but with a black cloak on, and you can't see anything under the black cloak.
Yeah, I think they have undead bodies.
Half ghost,
they
half
do
man.
have, I think, skeletons.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I don't think they're see-through.
Yeah, right.
At least I don't think so.
Yeah.
I could be
Plus,
wrong.
I think they're a bit magic in the sense that they're dead and still living. So if they did have it,
endure.
if they were skeletal, they could still put like a blackness
wraith.
between the cloak and their actual skeletal head or something. You know what I mean? A shadow.
You feel sad for them, don't you?
Oh, why? Not a great existence.
They were greedy. That's why they got
it,
done.
Would you not be?
But what do you mean?
Doomed
Like,
to die.
this is what I don't understand as well. They were greedy. I mean, in what sense?
They wanted
So
rings
all
of power to control people.
They were
But
given
sure,
them.
the 3 elves have. Gandalf's wearing a ring of power. Is he greedy? You know, like, I mean, Galadriel's wearing a ring of power.
Gandalf didn't ask for it, but apparently they went for them once, right?
I thought they were given.
Well, no. So Sauron the Deceiver, disguised himself as an elf, and walked to the elves to teach them how to make rings of power. And he taught a dude called Brimbor or whatever to make the rings. So he made the 3 rings independent of Sauron, but because he used Sauron's magic techniques, they're still, you know, subservient to the one ring. No one calls the elves fucking, you know, greedy. I know in the Lord of the Rings movie they say, oh, and the men, for they are greedy, you know, but you notice Tolkien doesn't describe them as that because they were the 9 kings of men. They were deceived. They were already powerful. They're already the kings, either kings of the east, kings of the south, or kings of, I don't know, tribes around somewhere else.
I think it was just more they were powerful in title rather than actual physical ability or anything like that. Because elves, they can carry themselves. Dwarves can carry themselves, but men, they're like compared to dwarves and elves and like everyone else that got rings, they're definitely the weakest of everyone. That's probably why. That's what I got anyway.
Yeah, I just think I feel more bad for them. I mean, if an elf walks up to you and he says, "I got ring of power for you here. The dwarves have 7, the elves have 3. Do you want
You're
mine?"
not going to
And
say
you're
no.
Oh,
if they
yeah,
picked you.
sweet. And you know that the elves are wearing these rings because they're famous and stuff. Probably, I don't know. You're probably like, "Oh, sweet, my turn." And this is the same dude that the elves have already trusted.
Yeah.
And it's Anatars, isn't it?
I just think they get a bad dude in the movie, and the dwarves.
But they're still scary as fuck. Like.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the day, they're terrifying.
It just goes to show, like, what if they also had like 9 dwarves who are terrifying, like little fucking dwarves chasing you down the road
Or maybe
on
on
little
goats
goats
or
or
something.
something.
That's way scary.
Or like even elves chasing you down. Like elves would be. Imagine a
no.
dark elf, like a elf underneath Sauron. Like he'd be fucking terrifying if he had all the abilities of an elf with a ring and being
That's
undead.
what the Urukai are, aren't they?
Nah.
Just like corrupted elves.
No, orcs are actually corrupted elves. All orcs are born from elves.
Yeah. I thought Urukai were too, but
And
The
Urukai- no,
Urukai are a
Urukai's
mix of
supposed to be the
goblins
man
plus men,
and-
I think.
okay.
But goblins obviously are a type of orc.
They
but
can stand out in the daylight versus an orc can't. A goblin can't.
Goblin can't, an Urukai can.
Yeah.
And that's what they're for. Yeah, but it's not really as clear cut as you said. Like he leaves a lot of it to mystery. There's old Tolkien, the mad bastard.
I heard that he was talking, like he never actually stated specifically that orcs or goblins were made of X, Y, and Z. He said it can be any of these. It could be amalgamation of men and elves, or it could be elves that are corrupted, or elves that were fucking gone mad, or elves that were, the exiles. Morgoth made them. And anybody could have made them.
My understanding was that your man Melkor, Sauron's boss before he was killed, couldn't create life and was jealous, so he decided to
Spoil everything.
corrupt and life. So like obviously elves was created by God, so he corrupted them.
Yeah.
To do his best he could.
Corrupt you
the
bollocks.
dwarves are like very interesting, and like Sauron's magic doesn't work as well on them because they are not made by the same God who made elves and men. Like they're almost independent.
Made of thicker
So I don't
stuff.
know what happened to their 7. Like did they have fucking
Oh, I wonder, yeah.
Dragons probably ate them ones.
their rings?
They live in mountains where them dragons hang out.
I think it made them greedy, right? It gave them that greed thing, or the dragon greed, or whatever it's
that's
called.
why
And
they
that's
were
why
stashing all that
whenever
gold.
they wore them, they basically just got really greedy, started hoarding loads of gold, and that's what brought the dragons to them.
Okay. Well, tell you what though, you kind of agree with them a wee bit, lads. I don't know about you, but are elves not kind of dicks? Like your man is a bit of a dick when he runs into
He
the
absolutely
Hobbit.
is.
He's an absolute character.
He's so condescending.
He's a dick. I know
I
he
love
says Frodo, but he's a dick.
Yeah.
How old are you guys
Yeah.
though? Like these guys are like 100 times older than you. Like they're 3,000 years old. They're sick of everyone's
but
shite. They've been through wars.
Yeah, but when you think someone makes the effort to speak
He was-
their common, their
he was
fancy
doing-
medieval
he was doing
language,
well.
and he's just like,
Well, yeah.
isn't it nice to hear?
I don't think he was condescending, I suppose, but he did enjoy it at the end. He
completely
admitted
was.
to actually being a pleasant meeting them, and he called them an elf friend.
Yeah, which he was surprised by. He was surprised because he called the hobbits dull. He didn't want to hang out with them, and then all of a sudden, it's like, actually, you weren't that bad.
Till he finds out they're being chased, he's like, nah, you can't actually hang out with us. You're boring.
Yeah. Anything interesting, you're
You're
like,
not cool
actually,
enough to sit with us.
I agree, they are condescending and they are dicks. I just think I can get why they would be. Like, they have experience of dealing with dull hobbits who don't give a shite about most things. Frodo is an exception. Frodo is like this mad, like he comes from money, he's learned.
He was dull up
he's
to this
been
moment,
studying
though,
their
probably.
language. He's adventurous. He wants to go and meet them. He meets them on the borders in his time during the last 17 years. Frodo is interesting to them because he's not
And famous.
yeah.
Frodo's famous.
Famous,
like,
yeah.
how they know who he is. They know
Everyone
who he is.
knows.
Spying on him.
Big shit.
Yeah.
Bilbo was a friend of the elves, so
Yeah.
I think he'd invite them round, or like when they went into the forest for strolls, they'd meet or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That's what I thought how he knew them.
Bilbo and Frodo would go out for walks and hikes, and the elves would just spot them. They wouldn't let them know that they're actually watching.
Yeah. In the bushes.
Elves are dicks, but they do kind of save the day. And it is interesting to see that Frodo is not your average hobbit. Like, he is...
A learned hobbit.
Again, massive difference between book Frodo and movie Frodo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, huge.
Yeah.
In the film, Sam stops Frodo from putting on the ring like a dirty bastard with his finger around it. Sorry, I'll just do that again. In the film, Sam's...
What?
He's
Hold on,
rolling his eyes and he's like rimming the fucking ring. He's like, oh,
You
this
are...
is amazing.
you have a dirty brain.
Anyway, I was just trying to make fun of it. In the film, Frodo is about to put it on and Sam stops him, but nowhere is that mentioned in the book. Sam is a dog, by the way. So Sam can't stop with his
put it on a
paws.
paw.
Yeah.
What does Sam do?
Frodo
Licks
does
his
it all
face or
himself. He
something?
fights his own battles in his own head. You know what I mean? He's a strong character. He's not weak like they show him.
I guess maybe in the films, some of Frodo's inner battles are played out through Sam. It's hard. It's easier to make another person do something.
Movie review. Review. Whoa, no fanny talk this episode, boys.
No.
Yeah, I think what I said was pretty straightforward.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm going to have to say you're right, Joe.
Like obviously it's easier. Like if Frodo's just having an internal battle with himself in his head, how do you show that in a film? Like it's much easier if another character comes along and does some of the things for you. Just keep it going instead of just continually just panning to Frodo looking into the cheek and something.
I do get you though. I hate when movies
well said.
tell you what's happening in someone's head.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Just leave it open for interpretation. Like.
Yeah, I think Frodo was just a casualty of the movies that had to happen to make them as good as they are. They sadly just, I think,
he had to be more reluctant about every single.
Yeah, he had to be less strong. Had to be more kind of in danger, and that's just the way it is. And movie Frodo is just a completely different character in my mind to book Frodo. Obviously not just age, but everything. Book Frodo is the fucking man, though, isn't he?
Yeah, isn't he?
Also, book Sam is also a dog. I don't mean to keep bringing this up, but he's just so shy in it. Like he's all chat about the elves and the elves, and he nearly he nearly gives them up when they're hiding just to go run to the elves, even though there's a dark rider like literally just gone 5 seconds ago. He's the dog. He's like squirrel, and he when he sees them, shit skacks, speechless. Says he's in a dream,
he doesn't say a thing.
And he says it's one of the chief moments in his life. It's like you saved the world. And you think the time you didn't talk to the elves is the best part, one of the best parts of your life. I get it in the sense that it's the first time he's ever seen them, but he saved the world.
Know that he saved the world before he met the elves,
and he didn't say a tap.
Yeah.
He didn't even say boo. Like,
and he falls asleep before pretty much anyone else as well.
Does he?
In the elf company? Pippin first, then him.
What about that party? Like, what do you make of that party? I thought that was class. They just rocked up into this like green area, and all of a sudden they're in like this magical elf tree forest cave hall.
Yeah,
They're elves.
What?
It's the same happens in the Hobbit, where they're walking through and then they see a light and they follow the light and then there's nothing there, and then they see a light and they hear people like chanting and singing and all that kind of stuff, and they keep following it and they keep disappearing. But it's like one of them little parties in the middle of a forest where it's like a little banquet going on.
They're so magic.
You can't find it unless you're invited.
Yeah. They can literally disappear. I remember
So
that now
cool.
when you say it, that the Hobbit, they could see them and then they just vanished.
Yeah.
So that must kind of explain why Frodo and Bilbo are out hiking and they could just never see the elves, even though they could see them. They're magic. Or they're always playing five-a-side, because they did have that little glimmer over them, like from the moonlight, like they're sweating all the time.
What I thought that was more like a Mr. Burns in the nuclear power plant. Just spent too long and they just glow forever.
He's bringing love. Get his leg. Yeah. I know the elves are fairly magic now. Dicks that they are. But listen, maybe if I was magical, I'd be a dick too. You know. So I suppose I'm not really magical, and I've been accused of being a dick.
Yeah.
So.
What does that say?
My bull there only a couple of weeks ago for bullying him.
Can you say dick on this podcast? Can you?
No, Owen, you can't say dick.
You can say penis. That's it.
Yeah, actually, I started saying pee-pee for my Wilbert. And
Are you still watching Tenable, Ross?
Top 10 words for pee-pee. Oh, I would dominate that.
Man. He got good mileage out of that.
We do that. We're not talking about anything else but our own appendages, so we can do that all we want, can we?
Well, I think we definitely can. But pee-pee is a great one because the girlfriend has said to me, "Is like, I need to stop saying that because it is the least sexy way to call a penis anything other than a pee-pee." I'm like, why? What's wrong? It's just a pee-pee.
It's like teaching a
So
child what
emasculating.
he has before he knows what he has.
Willy is a good one.
I like Willy.
Willie, yeah.
I don't like Willy. Don't put that in the podcast.
If you...
What? You don't like Willy?
100% of the cocks I've touched, I've enjoyed. So I mean, that make me gay?
Well, you've touched mine, so yes.
I didn't touch your cock.
I'm joking.
You were.
I was like, shit. Did I touch your cock?
I was worried there for a minute.
Cock is a good word.
What happens in France?
Yeah. Any Irish words for a dick?
Long
Langer?
fella. Langer, yeah.
Lad?
Lad, yeah, lad is good.
Oscuelga, it's actually Mavud. B-U-D.
What about Panish?
Danish.
That's
And
like,
your
Again, that
Woggerly.
seems scientific.
Woggerly
You
is your
wavin'?
bollock.
Yeah.
That's your balls.
You-
Bollock
That's
is a
like-
great
that's-
word.
Wavin?
Woggerly is onomatopoeia, I think.
Woggerly? What's a Woggerly?
Woggerly. It's like, I don't know why.
Oh man, the Irish language is filled with onomatopoeia. Everything is onomatopoeia. Ishka is the sound of water on the coast of the rocks. You know, all this kind of stuff. But no, lads, we'll be here all day talking about Wilbert names.
Anyway.
We will. Sorry.
Now, did
sorry.
Sauron
Lord
have
of
a
the
Willy
Rings.
though?
We've been
We've already
through
gone
this.
through, yeah, he's got a big fake one.
I'm only joking. I'm
Yeah,
only
just
joshing.
for rings.
Yeah.
Do you remember the songs in this chapter? A lot of songs.
Yeah, there is one
Oh,
in
yeah,
particular
there
that
is.
stood out.
We
to
haven't
me
even
that
mentioned
they
them.
used in the movies. They used it in movie number 3.
Which one?
Pippin sings it as Faramir is going to his death
Yes.
and riding in.
Yeah,
But it's in this chapter, I think. Who's singing it? I can't remember.
They all three of them sing it, I think.
Is that
And
the
they're
one
butchering it.
Pippin sings when Denethor is eating the tomatoes?
yeah.
He's very solemn in
Away
that, though.
shall fade.
That's
or
the
whatever
one.
it is.
Yeah.
I did not realise that's what that
Good
was.
spot. Good read.
I have to go back and read that again.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
Do
it
your
is. Yeah,
fucking
no,
homework.
maybe we're wrong, but Ross, I agree with you. I think
It
that
is.
is the song.
Yeah. It definitely is. Yeah, it definitely is. At least parts of it anyway, or some bastardization of it made it into the movies. But I didn't like the songs when I was younger and reading Lord of the Rings because I
Oh
didn't
no, you'd
understand
nearly
them.
skip over them.
Yeah, but now, they're great. Don't think so.
Best part.
Or
of
like, I think one of them is foreshadowing, and I can't explain the actual specifics of it, but I think the Mines of Moria is part of it, and meeting Galadriel is part of it. I don't
Tell
know
me
if
more.
I can find it.
I read them again after I seen your message saying foreshadowing, and I was like, nope, don't see it. So I'm interested to hear what you say.
A sudden tree or standing stone, so I think that's the stone in front of Mines of Moria, that none have seen but we alone. I think fuck all people have been around that pass. Let them pass, let them pass. That's them trying to get in it. There's a bit where he says, we passed them by today, but tomorrow we may come this way. So like it's stuff that where they tried to go over the mines, the hills, and then they came back to that. Like Gandalf didn't want to go through the Mines of Moria.
Because Saruman was up on top of the thing going, "Hey, you remember that? That was
What's
class.
the name of that mountain? Yeah, he's just yodeling. Just to cause avalanches.
But yeah, that's what I took from it. So a bit of foreshadowing. I think there's a bit where it says apple torn and nothing slow. I think that, and he says, what does he say? Tree and flower and leaf and grass. I think these are characters in the Fellowship. And he says, let them go, let them go, let them pass, let them pass. I think these are like...
Oh, so you think each one of
It
them
might
is
be.
like someone's characteristics or something somehow relates
Somebody
to
has
them?
told me before, I think it was Ross, Tolkien didn't write down anything for the crack. Everything has a purpose. So
Everything has a purpose. The man was a nut job. Fucking psycho.
sand and stone and pool and dell, fare you well, fare you well. Like that means something. I just don't know yet.
Some crack though. I like all the songs. I think the songs, the poems, and all that. Sometimes I just need to remind myself, all this was written by one dude. Like.
Yeah, he's some imagination to fill this universe, like for thousands of years, with things.
Not even, just in this chapter alone, how often did he describe a forest in a completely different way that it was never the same as just before?
Very descriptive, and it takes you right there.
Yeah, completely. But it's never repeated. Like, there's no repetition. It's something different, and it still keeps you interested.
Did you find yourself like chasing the map? Like trying to understand where they were when they mentioned, because I figured he's telling you all these routes, and this is where it comes back to like people saying that it's a tome to read, It's just like, not if you actually just interact with it. He's giving you a map, and he's telling you, like, I'm not telling you which path they're taking for the crack, because it seems like filler otherwise. But there's a map at the front. Have a look and see if you can follow them.
I was kind of thinking, like, okay, so what does it actually look like? These trees, okay, they're alder here, there's willow over there. I'm like, what does it actually look like there?
Sometimes when I read a book that the film hasn't been made yet, I'm like, please, somebody make a film so I can imagine what this looks like, because I'm terrible at that stuff.
No, but they do that sometimes. They do that.
I'm with you on this. I'm with you on this, Bull. I'm actually with you 100%. A real big pet peeve of mine when I'm reading something, when a character is introduced and they don't describe what they look like.
Oh, they have to.
Or it's just like, what the hell was it? And again, trying to think of an example there of a book that we've all read. Like someone in Harry Potter, lavender brown. Never describe what lavender brown looks like. So I'm just going off someone with lavender hair and brown skin because they're called lavender brown.
Or a girl who you might know with the surname Brown.
Tell me what they look like. Yeah, or Dean Thomas. Yeah. What does Dean Thomas look like? What colour is his hair? What the fuck is this?
You don't even need to go for side characters. Hermione Granger isn't described, and that's why J.K. Rowling says that she can be black or white, because she just had curly brown hair. Yeah, that's all you really hear about her.
That's literally big teeth.
Yeah,
big teeth. That's all.
I didn't know that.
No, I'd much rather the other way, where they just literally lay it out.
I haven't seen this before, but like bad film adaptations of books, like these, I can think of one off the top of my head. Yeah. No, that's not Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Ralph, here we are again. You bastard. Here we are.
I don't condone him for what he made.
Come on the podcast, Ralph. Come on. We love to grill you. You're 82 years old. You live in Palestine. We'll figure it out.
Have any of you read Ready Player One?
No, Ocean, but the movie is the worst 25 minutes of any movie I've ever attempted.
I've ever seen, and the book is amazing. It's nowhere near Lord of the Rings. Like, it's not that detailed, but it's just like nerd lore for like 80s films and songs. It's class.
Nice. And that's a Steven Spielberg movie as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but he absolutely should. Like, because the book was so about specific things. Like they talk a lot about what's that film? Oh, I can't think of it now. Ferris Bueller's Day Off and stuff like that. And then they didn't get the rights to use Ferris Bueller's Day Off in the film. So they basically get to change the entire story to fit around what films they got the rights for.
So if you're looking for bad adaptations, look no further than The Hobbit. Fuck me. Wank.
R.I.P. The Hobbit.
It's a tricky one. Like one book, 3 2-hour films.
Look at the size of that. That's the whole Lord of the Rings.
That's all 3.
Like the Hobbit is like this big.
Yeah.
It's like 300 pages.
It should not be 3 films about it. If that's the case, make 7 films about the Hobbit and do a chapter each. Just make a podcast about the Hobbit and read it for 70 weeks.
That's ideas for us. Maybe in the future we'll be able to get them.
At some stage, I do want to do a podcast about the Hobbit.
Oh yeah, because it's so much more fun.
It's a savage book. We just disregard the movies and just we'll talk about book chapter by chapter because it's fucking class.
It's very good. It's very action packed as well compared to Lord of the Rings. I think where here we are, we've just spent an hour chatting around a chapter where that's 15 pages,
and there's much more fun songs in it.
Yeah, but there's I think for almost the first 8 or 9 chapters, there's like a boss. Almost every Hobbit, like a goblin boss or a giant golem boss or troll boss or a bear man boss or a spider boss. It's like something massive every time. It's definitely, you could tell it was for kids.
But I could read that to Fionn when he's 5 or whatever, but I couldn't read The Lord of the Rings to him right now. It'd just take too long. He wouldn't give a shit.
That's just defeatist.
But you could definitely read The Hobbit. It's a kid's book, and maybe we could do a podcast where we don't drink, or we drink fruit juice or something. And kids could listen to it. And we stop cursing.
We have to give the
Saturday morning podcast.
We have to give the people what they want. Good stuff there in the chapter. Before we finish up then, any hot takes? Any more hot takes?
This isn't really a hot take, but like some Star came out and they just went buck wild. They were just like all quiet, like they all ended up in this like elfin den with the hall or whatever, and they're all keeping, like, elves kept to themselves, they didn't say much. And then like the mist went, And then like the stars came out and they're like, lads, the fucking stars are out, get up, in time for merriment and fucking speech and laughter.
I think that they're just absolutely mad, you know. They're just mad.
Yeah.
And there's all different types of elves, and you know, I don't know what these ones are.
I'd say these are woodland
Exiles, right?
They're high elves, because your man says he's House of Noldor, which means that they're house, but they're exiles.
Yeah.
Exiles, yeah.
Exiled for what? Like,
But didn't he say his ancestors or his relatives are from Rivendell? So
That's what I was going to ask. Like, why are they still in Middle Earth? Because most of the rest of them have gone over to Valinor. But he says, because we had peace in Rivendell. Why not?
Nice place for a
Rivendell's
session.
always protected, right?
why not?
Yeah, you can see the stars and go moon as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wake the fuck up! Wake that Pippin lad up! Come on, the fuck! We're eating some shrooms!
This happens every night, Gildor. Every fucking night.
Fucking hell.
Fire safety not an issue for elves. They literally lighting fires underneath in trees.
In trees, yeah, in them. Like,
Here, this Gildor lad, I know he's not in the movies, but he is a much more important character than this chapter actually kind of lets on. It's spoilers not just for the movie, which is fine, but spoilers for the book. Will I keep my powder dry, lads, or should I describe the impact? Because we don't see him again, but he's quite impactful.
Oh yeah, go for it. If we don't see him again, why not?
So he mentions there, right, Frodo, don't worry, I let word be known that you're travelling, you're on your way, and he does. So it's him that lets Strider know to look out for hobbits, not Gandalf, as in the movies that says he can't win. So it's this
Where was
fella.
Gandalf
And
for
he's
all this?
also he's up fighting Saruman, isn't he?
Fuck off, was he? Fighting
Yeah, I
him?
think so. Well, film wise, but not
Well,
books.
in the books he just says, I had some trouble.
Okay.
12 rounds.
Right, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
holds
I
barred.
haven't read on in the books. I think Oisin and Ross, you've read the books throughout. So
I suppose I could have guessed if I watched the films recently, but I just
He's
haven't.
smoking his pipe, so he fucking eating Chinese food. He forgot the time.
Pulling the plum of himself.
him and Radicast eating fucking mushrooms and a lot.
El Gildor, he also told Elrond that the hobbits are on the way. So when he's getting chased by the riders, and Elrond sends the river after them, and he sends Glorfindel, obviously, that goes to rescue the hobbits, not
Eowyn.
sexy Liv Tyler. Yeah. So,
Oh, not Eowyn.
Oops.
Arwen.
Eowyn's the blonde bitch.
Arwen.
Yeah.
Blonde woman.
Eowyn's the one who can't cook.
Shite maiden or Rohan, more like.
Please don't make
but-
me eat your stew.
God. Well, fair play. She's a good warrior, can't cook. Bit like me, you know, good at fighting, can't cook. But yeah, so he's a very important character is the Gildor, and I know he's not in the movie, so I just wanted to give a shout out, you know, justice for Gildor. We
Justice
respect
for
you, man. We
Gildor. Let's
respect
get that
you.
trending.
Yeah,
Let's
fair.
get that trending.
Fair play to him,
Rusted.
yeah.
Yeah, even if he's a bit
But
of
they
a dick.
were the hobbits are on their way to Bree, and I think I don't know where I read it, but the Dunedain are like around that area. They kind of protect Bree and
Shire,
them kind
yeah,
of areas. So yeah. So that's why.
That's why they never have any trouble, isn't it?
Aragorn's around and about.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And Ross, tell me, did you notice in the chapter when they get into the Elfin Hall and they have beer on drought? I mean draft.
I did, they got the top.
Shout out to episode 1 when he thought it was Drocket.
It says that the Drak that is
Yeah,
gold.
it looks like crisp beer. Nice and tasty.
Magical tree taps.
Pilsner.
But elves can't get drunk, though.
They just like it. They just like the taste of it.
What are they doing? They just like the taste.
Maybe they're just getting other people drunk. They're little predators.
Oh, that's what they're
Dirty.
doing. They're crazy.
Get the hobbits drunk there and we'll make them dance.
They probably know how to get themselves drunk, but
Seems like good crack, though. They're just a party lifestyle.
But you don't get that from the films. They're very solemn and quiet.
Yeah,
and, we walk
depressing
through
vibes.
the forest and we take very small steps. But like they're laughing in this and they're having the crack and they wake the boys up and
Yeah.
they drink beer and
Make-
they have loads of food.
they're always
and
singing.
And they're making jokes at the boys. They're calling them dull.
Yeah.
They go, ah, boys, keep no secrets here. This fucker can speak our language.
Yeah.
yeah.
Their wit is off the chain like that. They must be cracking jokes the whole time walking through the forest, so we're just seeing a snippet of it.
Yeah, but sure, you live 5,000 odd years.
How good do you think Valinor, like how good crack must Valinor be? Like they're like, oh, it's calling back to us, we have to go. Like, this is a non-stop disco
Yeah.
that they live here, like. And they're like, no, this is only passing through. Like, you need to get to the Valinor. Like, must have like disco biscuits.
Beer
on
and
top.
food on tap in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Off the chain.
So is Valinor the place across the sea or whatever it is? Is that
That's
where
where
they
the
go?
elves go when they die or when they leave Middle Earth. Yeah.
I thought it was called Grey Havens, but is that
Grey Havens is the port west of the Shire
Right.
that you
Oh,
leave
okay.
from.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's like going to Holyhead.
Beyond the pillars and all that.
Is it heaven for them? Like,
That's what I was going to ask as
Oh,
well.
I think that's the gift of man. You know, only men can
Is it?
die.
Is it
So
not?
only men can go to. Well, I say men. Only humans, and they're subservient kind of, you know, races like hobbits and this kind of thing. But yeah, only it's called the gift.
So what? Elves can't die. They just go.
Or dwarves, I don't
Just
think
go
they
somewhere
can't
else.
go to. They go to their own different heaven. So only men can go to heaven, and that's why the elves are jealous.
Valhalla or some shit.
Yeah, something like that. So that's why the elves are jealous of men, because men can die.
Well, it's
Yeah,
a great.
that's. Go on.
I was just going to say it's a great place for Bilbo to go and just finish his book and read his books and do his
and
thing.
nobody can read them because he's too far away. The book, there's no publisher out in fucking Valinor.
No one would read it anyway, as Gandalf let us know. But that's also why we know that the Shadow of Middle Earth games are just complete and utter fan fiction, and you know, shouldn't be talked about in any serious way as Lord of the Rings lore.
Yeah, I just play it for the
Because
crack.
you know, you can't come back from the death. That's one rule. Men is unbreakable in Tolkien's universe. Once a man dies, he's gone. That is literally one elf came back from the dead, so we know it can be done. Glorfindel. And then obviously Gandalf can come back, no bother to him. Sauron can come back, no bother to him. It can absolutely be done. But men, once they're dead, you're dead.
Does anybody else feel like you're not doing enough when Ross comes out with this amount of information? Like, he's just like an encyclopedia for Tolkien universe.
Oh, I'm wrong though. Don't worry about it. I'm wrong. We're going to get more hate emails from people saying
Anything.
Our disclaimers are, we know we're
we
wrong.
appreciate your feedback. Please check us out on the social channels and on the Patreon and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, I think that's probably going to finish us up there for the week, lads, unless we've anything left to go to.
Well, there's a few hot takes we can go around. I still have.
Yeah, go for it.
Right, go on then. Go on.
My hot take, it's Sauron basically accidentally and unintentionally created the Shire because
Sauron did?
did.
What? Now that is a hot take.
Yeah, here we go.
What? I am not having that.
Here we
but
go.
Go on.
Right. So they say, right, that the hobbits years and years ago, like the stores, the Harfoots, they all came from different parts of Middle Earth, but they all got pushed away because evil started to emerge, right? And that evil was Sauron. And so they all kind of, packed their bags and said, right, this evil, it's too close to home, we're not comfortable with it. So they all went west. And that's when most of them ended up in the Shire. Now, at that stage, it wasn't the Shire, it was just where they all went to get away because maybe it was close to Rivendell and it was, there was magic to protect them and there was elves and it was close to Bree. So the Dunedain were there to protect them because it's said in the books, the Dunedain were very good at protecting.
Quit shaking your head, Ross, for fuck's sake. And you giving out to us? Dickhead.
No, it's fine. It's a half truth.
Yeah, no. That's why it's hot. It's a hot take, right? But basically,
it's good.
Basically, yeah, he drove all the hobbits to the same direction, and in turn, that's what created the Shire. And it's funny that most of the people that ended up with the ring were from the Shire. He created it himself, and he never knew.
I like it. It's definitely
Spicy.
a hot take, Owen. It's definitely a hot take. I mean, in the prologue to this book, never mind the Hobbit, but prologue to this book, it tells us that the hobbits come from over the Misty Mountains, and settled in there. So, yeah, in a roundabout way, you could say maybe Sauron's actions created the Shire, but I mean, they said they don't know what they're running from. It could have been they're running from the spiders in Mirkwood. They could be from that Mirkwood forest.
Yep.
And that's not necessarily really Sauron that's doing that corruption.
Isn't
more like
Mirkwood, though, to
Ungoliant's
the east?
children or whatever.
Do you remember where Gollum...
It is, yeah, but that's where the Misty Mountains, they come from the east.
Right, so where your man lost the ring first when he was shot in the, what's his name, Isildur, was killed,
Shot.
and
Got.
he died in the river. That's where Gollum found him. Gollum is Hobbit-like, and they think he's a type of Hobbit, like someone from the stores, I think they
Okay, so,
mentioned.
yeah,
so that means
so what I
hobbits
was going
lived
to-
around there. Maybe as whatever, nomads or whatever. But that means somebody was there at some stage. Whether they could have came from the Shire and went that way, can't say they didn't. But maybe, like you said, some of them stayed, and then the rest were pushed through Mirkwood.
There is about a 2,500 year gap between Isildur being killed and the ring being found again.
So the real Lord of the Rings is the river.
And are hobbits older than that?
The hobbits probably are older than that, but the hobbits in the Shire certainly aren't, or where the stewards are either. So what I was going to say is, fuck it, right, I'll get into it. So Gondor is the largest of the human kingdoms left, but that was actually, Gondor in their language means South Kingdom. So the original kingdom was all the way up to the Grey Havens and beyond, and that was called
Bondor.
that was the North Kingdom, was Arnor.
Bondor
was the
Beach
North
Club.
Kingdom. And
Brian
Gondor was the
Bedonder.
South Kingdom, and Isildur was the king of both, and he died in the North Kingdom, and that's where the ring was set. But the North Kingdom collapsed then in 1500 by the Witch King of Angmar, who fought wars and wars and wars after the two kingdoms split up, and then there was a gap in power, everyone died, and the Dunedain are the last fucking men who are special powered men left, who don't have a kingdom anymore, but they live up there and kind of keep the peace or whatever, and that's where the hobbits come in from the Shire, blah blah. So basically, oh yeah, you're in a roundabout way, you're kind of right.
Snore!
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a snore. That was actually...
No,
good.
it's yeah. So
It's deep. It's like, where do you want this podcast to go? Do you want to just read the book and do a read along? Do you want do
I
we
want to go
have
to the
mad
top of the
fans who
iTunes
want
charts.
to?
That's where I want it
scoot
to go.
in,
Top of the
yeah.
iTunes charts, which probably means we can't talk about Arnor. Maybe
But like Aragon is a Dunedain, isn't he?
he's the chieftain. He's the
Yeah.
chieftain.
So
He's the
like,
king.
I mean, it's all related. This is the brilliant thing about Tolkien. Like, almost nothing that he mentions dies for good. You know, like if he tells you about something that happened 3,000 years ago, if there's someone still living with a sword or a fucking spoon, that's, you know, he's like, this is the spoon of Arundel. You know, it'll get you the best dragon soup you've ever drank.
Dragon soup.
Dragon soup. Dragon.
Any other hot takes or anything like that?
I had a question for you. Have you ever felt you were pursued like Frodo was pursued?
Yeah, I have an example.
That's
as
a good
well.
question.
Definitely a guy followed me one time. Not just me now. This is what was this, 2 years ago? A year ago? I was at a Hosier gig in Belfast and walking back towards my gaff from Ormo Park. So it's about a 40-minute walk maybe, but like thousands of people streaming out. And this is one creep just keeps taking all the same turns that we do. And I'm like, very specific, but maybe he's going somewhere. But when we get to like the top of my street, I'm like, nah, man, it's been 40 minutes. There's no way you're following us. Like, what's going on here? And he stops and goes, are you from Ireland, are you? He's like,
So he was following you.
and then, yeah, completely, yeah. And then one of the boys who were with, his name's Federico. He's from
Did he
he's from
hiss at
Italy.
you?
You know, he's Italian, and he is smart enough to realize what was happening in the situation. So he has an Italian accent. He's like, nah, man, it's all right. We're coming from the concert. Just it's grand. Just leave us alone. And then he's kind of walked away quickly and made sure he didn't see which house we went into.
He was sectarian, do you reckon?
I think that's what he was getting up to. That he heard us laughing and joking on the way back and heard the accents or something.
Laughing and joking in Irish.
It's fucking.
In Belfast, of all places. Who'd think you'd find an Irish person in Belfast? Oh no!
Strange.
My God. Well, that is good, Oisín. That is good. Bull, will I give my example before you jump in?
Yeah, go on. These will all be better than my story. Brilliant.
Mine is on the last night in the Gaeltacht. You know, for our international listeners, it's kind of like a
Coming
in
of
America,
age.
they have
Summer.
what, band camp where they go away, or like, you know, you get your camp, you know, camp counselors kissing and this kind of thing that you see in the movies. We don't really have that in Ireland, but we have Gaeltacht, which is like small little Irish speaking pockets of the countryside where people go for 3 weeks when you're 14 or 15 to learn how to kiss girls.
Yeah, basically.
And speak Gaeilge and, you know, practice the language and, you know, do the little dancing and this, that, the other, and you stay with local families in their houses for 3 weeks. And it's tradition on the last night they jump out your window and just run around the countryside drinking cans and getting up to trouble. So yeah, that was like that. Obviously it's completely against the rules and dangerous, so the man who runs the Gaeltacht and all his little helpers, because I'm sure they have insurance to pay for people's safety, spend the whole night driving around trying to pick you up and like throw you in the back of the van. And
Did this
then
just
get you
happen
back
your
home.
year, or does this happen every year?
No, that's like a tradition.
I
last
went to
night.
Gaeltacht twice and did it twice, and it was just kind of like, you know, hand me down information. It was like, oh, everyone's running away at last night, and then he was driving the van, looking behind walls, and we're hidden behind the stone walls, like lying on our bellies in like the moss and in the wet. She's like, oh, Jesus, there he is. Be careless. Well, yeah. So yeah, something like that in my head. It's kind of like the Nazgul thing, but
Be curious means be quiet, by the way, for our international.
Oscar, yeah.
Owen Duffy, I think
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
like
yeah,
me,
yeah.
and you never got to go to the Gaeltacht. Is that right?
Yeah, I never got to go to the Gaeltacht.
It's a great experience, though. I mean, anybody I know who did it like could speak Irish
Loved
after
it.
it. Like,
it's the formative years, like. It's
and the amount of people they
absolutely.
shifted, I was so jealous after it.
I hadn't kissed any girls till I went there.
Yeah, I shifted a girl. She was from a different country. Went back
She's
on
from
holidays.
Canada.
You wouldn't know her.
Yeah, but see, everyone you say, oh, I did kiss a girl. It was on holidays. No one believes that. But if you lied and said I kissed a girl at the Gaeltacht, people would be like, of course you did, you pup. Go on, go on. 13-year-old slayers.
Absolute rite
Go
of
on.
passage. Yeah.
It's the perfect cover. Oh yeah. Right, but what was your Nazgul chasing story?
When I first moved into my house in the country, we used to be a townie, and I kept my townie friends and my townie school friends, and me and my mate, he came out and he was up for devilment, and we were in the countryside, and he felt he was anonymous basically, but I still lived there. So he was up for devilment and I couldn't be, because I was like, I live like 2 doors down. So we basically went up the road, and he decided, I want to moon the next car that comes.
Moon.
Like, he wants to drop trow and show his bare arse as a 13-year-old and run across the road and just, you know,
This is just outside
basically
your
run in
house.
front of a moving car.
And this is outside your
Yeah, just up the road, basically just up the road. And
It's a
he just
flasher.
ran and jumped into the ditch because the car stopped. He just thought the car would go, haha, look, there's a 13-year-old arse, and drive on. But it stopped, and we were just laughing on the other side of the road, going, haha, look at it. Oh shit, the car stopped. And then because he had ran and hid, we were just left with explaining the situation. We're like, well, I don't know who he is.
His
I don't
belt
know.
broke.
Who are you? I was like, I'm John Muldoon. And John Muldoon was somebody I didn't know, I'm friends with now, but he lived around the corner, and he was famous in this town already. Everybody knew John Muldoon because he was like, you're not
His
famous,
dad's
but
name is
people
John
knew
Muldoon.
him. People knew his surname, and I wasn't John Muldoon. That was the main thing. She knew that I wasn't.
And it's the first name you could think of.
It's the first thing you could think of. So when she goes, you're not, and I'm going to go into this neighbour now to find out who you are. And I was like, well, I'm going to run. So I legged it, and I left my fucking friend in the ditch, because fuck him, because he got me into this trouble. So me and my little brother just basically ran down the road and hid in the bush for about 2 hours. So we hid, and she actually came looking for us. We were in this like car park of the church right across from
I
my
mean,
house.
hold on, just hold up. So your whole mastermind plan was, let's whip our arses out and move in front
Not
of
my plan.
moving traffic.
That was my friend's plan. I did not partake.
You
I
didn't
just
get your
laughed.
arse out, no?
I didn't.
No.
Honest to God, I actually didn't. We did this once, and we were done from the get go. So we hid, and she came looking like a fucking Nazgul. Like, she was driving her car around this car park looking for us, because she saw us run into this area, and we hid in the ditch for 2 hours. Well, she did laps at the place.
Who owns that arse? Who owns
So anyway, like months, I thought we got away with this. Like
You in a bush?
2.5 hours of waiting in a bush, and terrified, and thinking this man will never be allowed to come over to visit my house again. About 5 weeks later, my auntie comes to the house and says, I had a woman down to the house, and she said, you or your friend had your arse out up the road. I was like, oh my God. And I just died. You know, you just go, I've been found, I've been caught. It's like
Fake news.
It's
Fake
terrifying.
news.
Deny.
It was like being stabbed by the Witch King, you know. It's just, you know, they've got me. Fuck.
Oh, amazing. Brilliant.
Embarrassing.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you learned your lesson. You kept your arse away.
It wasn't my arse.
You know that episode of The Simpsons with Mel Gibson and him and Homer moon the executives? It's like, whose arses are they? Well, the one on the right's Mel Gibson. The two on the left, I don't know who that is.
The two on the left. Oh, amazing. Right, good stuff, lads. Good podcast. I think we stayed a lot more on Lord of the Rings this week, so I'm proud of us.
Some good Lord of the Rings chat.
Some good Lord of the Rings. I am proud of us. So
For a 15-page chapter. Like,
yeah, we did all right. I think, you know, we did less fanny talk, which is good, and bit of willy talk, but we'll see how that goes down.
They're ours.
They're ours. Yeah, we're allowed.
I wonder
we're
what next week will be.
Who knows?
Can't wait for bumhole talk next week. Well, actually, you kind of already had it.
Yeah,
there
I
with
suppose
Paul.
you did. Yeah, I suppose you did. Right. Anyway, so I think now's a good time, Zanny, to say have a look at the social channels there, listeners. Give us a review. You know, even 1 star, it'll help us tremendously. Although, to be fair, I think it's probably more of a kind of 4-star, to be honest, today. It was good.
At least.
You know, a review. Yeah, maybe even say, I like the Bull McCabe's voice, but that Oisin fella, I don't know how to spell his name, so I don't like him. You know, anything like that is good. Bit of interaction. Have a look on...
If we get stuff wrong, if we've said like the wrong mythology.
Oh,
or,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. We've a
history,
special folder for them on
have
the
a little
email. So,
spat.
let us know. Tell us where we're wrong, and it goes into a special folder. And we review on a weekly
We have a
basis.
Twitter though, so you can fight with us.
Yeah.
Don't troll us, please. But
Actually, do troll us.
Someone
I
will
think
respond to you.
trolling is good.
Not sure which
any
one.
kind of interaction is good. Yeah, I'm not going to say don't troll us.
retweet. Okay.
And of course, if you're looking for extra content, interviews with the lads and whatnot, give us a look at the Patreon. I've promised it twice now, so we are going to have to do interviews. And yeah, maybe buy Oisin a coffee or something. He's a poor student. He can't afford more than 2 bottles a week. So God love him. Right, good stuff. So I'm your host, Ross. I'll say goodbye. And from the lads,
Sloan.
Good luck.
And I'll just add in there that if you want to follow us or catch up with us on Twitter, it's at Drunk Talk on Twitter and just Drunk Talk Podcast on Instagram. So hit us up.
Tolk, Tolk.
Slide into our DMs or DMs, as I believe they're called.
And again, I know there was a bit of back and forth there, but genuinely, Ralph, I love you. Okay, Mr. Bakshi, please,
No
call your lawyers off, please. All right, good luck.